We've all heard of legendary inventors who achieved massive fortunes and universal acclaim, but history hides a darker, far more ironic chapter. What about the brilliant minds whose groundbreaking masterpieces ultimately became their final, inescapable executioners? Welcome back to Finalagenda. Hit that subscribe button right now, because today we are diving deep into 12 historical nightmares that will completely change the way you look at human innovation, technological ambition, and the sheer unpredictability of creative genius forever. Number 1. Ancient Greece, 560 BC. An artisan named Perilos wanted to curry favor with Phalaris, the cruel tyrant of Akragas. So he built a hollow, life-sized brass bull designed as a horrific new instrument of capital punishment. A victim would be locked inside, and a fire lit beneath the belly would roast them alive. Perilos engineered internal acoustic pipes to convert their desperate screams into the realistic, resonant roaring of an angry bull. Disgusted by this eager cruelty, Phalaris forced Perilos inside to demonstrate the acoustics, locked the hatch, and lit the fire. The tyrant listened with grim satisfaction as the pipes worked perfectly, making Perilos the first person to scream through his own creation. Before he died, Phalaris took him out only to throw him off a steep cliff, ensuring the tragic inventor met a thoroughly brutal and multi-layered end. Number 2. In 1008 in Nishapur, Persia, a brilliant Arabic scholar named Abu Nasr al-Jauhari decided he was destined to conquer the sky, turning his analytical mind toward aerodynamics. He believed flight could be achieved by mimicking the skeletal framework of large predatory birds. He constructed massive rigid wings from lightweight wood and bird feathers, strapping them tightly to his arms and chest. He climbed a local mosque, announced his mechanism to a massive crowd, and leaped. Lacking stabilization or tail control, al-Jauhari plummeted instantly onto the stone courtyard, making him one of aviation's earliest and most public casualties, leaving the stunned onlookers in absolute horror, chaos, and disbelief. Number 3. In the late 16th century, James Douglas, the 4th Earl of Morton, ruled as Regent of Scotland. Frustrated by inefficient, messy executions, he ordered the construction of a terrifying new machine based on early European designs. It was called the Maiden. It featured a heavy, weighted steel blade suspended between two towering wooden tracks, an early precursor to the guillotine. For years, the Earl watched approvingly as it brought swift justice to his rivals, praising its clinical detachment. But political tides turned quickly. In 1581, Douglas was accused of high treason by his political enemies, marched to the scaffold, and executed by his own creation, proving that those who live by mechanical terror often die by it. Number 4. By 1775, shipwreck salvage operations were incredibly lucrative but dangerous. Charles Spalding, an ambitious Scottish engineer, realized primitive diving bells were death traps. To upgrade them, he built a massive wooden bell equipped with lead counterweight to keep it level, along with a dual rope system to pull fresh air barrels down from the surface. His design worked flawlessly for years, gaining him immense fame and wealth. But in June of 1783, Spalding and his nephew submerged off the coast of Ireland. The air supply ropes tragically tangled around the exterior, leaving both men to suffocate helplessly on the dark ocean floor before the surface crew realized anything was wrong. If you enjoy these deep dives into history's forgotten ironies, remember to drop a like on this video. It helps Finalagenda grow. Number 5. Our 5th inventor is Jean-François Pilatre de Rosier, a French chemistry teacher who completed the first ever manned free flight in a hot air balloon. Wanting to cross the treacherous English Channel, he invented a radical new aircraft, the Rosier balloon. It was a hybrid system, combining a hot air chamber with a separate bag filled with volatile hydrogen gas. On June 15, 1785, he took off from France. Minutes into the flight, a sudden wind shift stalled their progress, and the friction spark ignited the hydrogen valve, triggering a massive mid-air fireball that plunged Rosier to his death, cementing his name as the first official casualty of aviation history. Number 6. 60 years later, British artist Robert Cocking noticed standard parachutes wobbled violently when descending. To solve this, he spent years designing an inverted, cone-shaped parachute resembling an upside-down umbrella, arguing it offered perfect aerodynamic stability. On July 24, 1837, Cocking attached his massive structure to a hot air balloon and ascended 5,000 feet over London. But Cocking forgot to factor in the immense weight of his heavy wooden framework. When he pulled the release cord, the structure violently snapped under the physical strain, sending him plunging directly into the earth in front of thousands of horrified spectators who had paid good money to watch a triumph. Number 7. In 1866, the Chilean government feared a naval bombardment by the Spanish fleet. Karl Flach, a German-born engineer, stepped up with a revolutionary solution: a hand-powered submarine made entirely of iron. It featured hand-cranked propellers, internal air valves, and 2 underwater cannons. Flach completed several shallow trials successfully. But on May 3, 1866, Flach took his young son and a crew of 9 down for a deep tactical test. The heavy iron hull sank deep into thick harbor silt, and the manual propellers lacked the torque to break the suction. For hours, desperate rescue teams on the surface listened to the crew frantically hammering against the iron hull, utterly powerless to lift the heavy vessel from its muddy, watery tomb. Number 8. Our next inventor takes us to the Victorian era. Vincent de Groot was a Belgian shoemaker with a grand obsession. He wanted to fly like a bird. He spent years constructing an elaborate mechanical apparatus known as an ornithopter, which featured massive canvas wings controlled by levers and pedals. To test it, he hired a hot air balloon over London in 1804, planning to be towed high and cut loose to glide down. However, the moment he was released, atmospheric pressure bent the fragile wooden wings upward, causing the entire apparatus to collapse in on itself, dropping him straight into the London streets below, where he perished instantly. Number 9. While many inventors died chasing the skies, some were claimed by everyday infrastructure. William Pitt was a Canadian ferryman tired of traditional paddle ferries struggling against intense river currents. In 1909, he designed an underwater cable ferry system driven by a massive steam-powered gear engine mounted directly on the deck. It was an engineering triumph. But during a routine crossing, Pitt stepped too close to the exposed gear system to make an adjustment. His clothing caught in the heavy teeth of the machinery, pulling him directly into the high-torque gears, which inflicted fatal injuries before the steam engine could be stopped. A brutal reminder of industrial danger. Number 10. In 1753, the scientific world was obsessed with electricity in St. Petersburg, Russia. Physicist Georg Richman invented a sophisticated instrument called an electrical gnomon, a primitive electrometer designed to measure atmospheric charge during storms. He ran an ungrounded iron rod from his roof straight down into his laboratory. On August 26, 1753, a massive thunderstorm rolled over the city. As Richmond leaned close to inspect the dial, a rare ball of lightning traveled down the rod. The glowing sphere leaped from the machine, striking him squarely in the forehead and killing him instantly in front of his terrified assistant, leaving a literal blueprint of scientific tragedy. Number 11. Long before the Wright brothers, American physicist John Joseph Montgomery was quietly conquering the skies in California. In the 1880s, he became the first person in America to fly controlled gliders, inventing a revolutionary wing-warping system to steer. By 1911, Montgomery was testing his newest prototype, the Santa Clara. During a routine flight, an unpredictable thermal updraft caught the glider's tail. The aircraft stalled unexpectedly at an altitude of just 20 feet, flipping upside down and forcing Montgomery's head into a structural frame bolt, ending his brilliant aviation career in a heartbreaking, low-altitude accident that shook the local scientific community to its core. Number 12. We close our countdown with Zygmunt Puławski, a brilliant Polish aircraft designer who revolutionized military aviation with the Puławski wing. By angling wings upward like a seagull, he gave fighter pilots an unprecedented, unobstructed field of view, making his experimental planes the most agile fighters in the sky. Wanting to create an amphibious plane for the public, he built a prototype called the PWS-52. On March 21, 1931, a fierce windstorm hit Warsaw. Puławski insisted on piloting the prototype himself to test the weather, but a violent gust caused a fatal stall, crashing his plane into a city street, cutting short the life of a true aerodynamic genius who redefined global aviation design principles and inspired future engineers. Which of these brilliant minds had the most tragic fate? Drop a comment down below. Make sure to subscribe to Final Agenda, and I'll see you in the next one.